Welcome back, gentlefolk and rapscallions of all persuasions. I mentioned in other videos that I had a very successful book haul at San Diego Comic-Con this year, 2025, and I want to kind of rank the overall experience I had with each of the booths, best to worst. Best was probably Tor because they did a relatively good job of making sure the people lined up when they were supposed to. However, for some of the bigger signings I tried to get, like Olivia Blake's Girl Dinner, it was messier than it probably should have been. Also, they weren't consistent with where they started their line. Sometimes it snaked next to the side of the booth and then crossed the aisle and ran down. Another time it started in front of the booth and ran down this way and then crossed the center aisle. Having dedicated spaces would have alleviated a lot of the confusion. From Tor, I got arcs of Girl Dinner and The Executioners 3. Both are signed, and Tor was also doing a buy a book, get an arc, and that's where I bought A Far Better Thing and got an arc of Blackthorn. I'm remembering why I don't wear these glasses anymore because they slide down my face. So we're gonna give up on that for today, and maybe when I get a new pair of glasses, we'll do that again. I had mixed results with Simon & Schuster. Sometimes getting into the lineup where they handed out the tickets 20 minutes beforehand was easy. Other times, it wasn't, and there wasn't a good way to corral everyone into a single file line with where their booth was positioned because a lot of people were lining up in the same area for the yesterday's pin booth. Again, there was inconsistency in where the lines started, so where you could loiter and look at other wares at other booths wasn't in the same place, and you could find yourself on the opposite side from where you needed to be. This happened to me with Fairytale, I think, was the giveaway. I spent a lot of hours waiting in lines for these books. Blackstone Publishing was right next to Simon & Schuster and was incredibly tame by comparison. Go over an hour early, pick up a ticket, go back and get your book later. I only got one book from them, and I'm not as excited about it as I am for some others, if only for the fact that I picked it up because I saw the words Helldivers prequel, and then came to find out later that it had nothing to do with the games, and there are 10 plus volumes out in a different book series that it's a prequel for. I can give my thoughts on it, but I won't be able to make connections with the larger literary universe because I haven't read all those other books. A good experience I had with Simon & Schuster was in the line waiting to pick up either The Deck of Many Drinks or You Weren't Meant to Be Human, and one of my fellow bookworms told me to just walk up and ask if they had any copies of Chloe Gong's Cold Wire because there was a signing and they had extras. So I got that one easy peasy lemon squeezy, and I'm hoping I like it. Immortal Longings was fine. There were some plot holes, but I DNF'd vilest things. It was definitely suffering from second book syndrome on a premise I wasn't super invested in to begin with. And I also got a free copy of Will of the Many, which I've already read, and I'm eagerly awaiting the sequel. Between the release dates of a few of these arcs, The Strength of the Few and Empire of the Dawn, and Dragonsteel being the first weekend in December, November is going to be a busy month for me. My worst experience by far was Penguin Random House for multiple different reasons. It was no one person's fault, but they seemed to be the least organized. Everyone gave separate instructions on where to go for different things, leading me to walk all the way around the outside of the booth to find the end of the line, which by that point had lengthened to where I had started and resulted in me not getting a couple of the signing tickets I wanted. They also give away all of their tickets at the start of the day instead of staggering them the way that Simon & Schuster and Blackstone did. I would have had to be in the line to get into the exhibit hall at least 2 hours before I actually was, in order to get a favorable spot in line, not accounting for the people who find their way into the exhibit hall in other ways. Also, the signing tables where you pick up the tickets are not clearly labeled, nor are they clearly marked on the schedule. I would have missed getting a signing ticket for Senlin Yu signing the alchemized art print if not for the part where I walked all the way around the booth and ended up next to someone already holding a slip of paper and asked, "Hey, how do you have a ticket already?" And she gestured vaguely to the penguin person, the employee, not someone dressed like a penguin standing next to us, and was like, "Oh, you need the password," to which I immediately went, "Oh, I have information on the High Necromancer," and I got my ticket. I really wanted an arc of Something Wicked by Fallon Ballard, and that wasn't one of the signing tickets left by the time I got to the front. But I did snag tickets for the Magician of Tiger Castle giveaway and Elise Kova's Arcana Academy signing, and also I bought a copy of Arcana Academy just because it was so pretty. Okay, so story time. The Something Wicked giveaway was at 12:45 at Penguin, and the Girl Dinner signing was at 1 o'clock at Tor. There is a 30-minute grace period on the ticketed events at Penguin, and the girls behind me in the Tor line were getting antsy because they had the Fallon Ballard tickets, and another of their friends was off somewhere else. I decided to bail and go take my chances with the standby line, which they told me didn't exist, and gave my sticky note marking my place in the Tor line to my boyfriend, who stayed behind. After being told there was no standby line for Something Wicked, I went and stood in the line for the Elise Kova signing that I had a ticket for, and my boyfriend came over and joined me, having gotten Girl Dinner signed. Then, the girl from the tour line popped up, pressed a ticket into my hand and said, "Get out of line, now, leave him, go." And I got a copy of Something Wicked, which was pitched as Macbeth meets Moulin Rouge, which sounded exciting, and I'm really looking forward to that. I didn't go to the Orbit booth mainly because all of their arcs were a buy a book, get an arc, and none of the summaries of the arcs they had on offer interested me very much, and I got plenty of other things, as you can tell. The next two on the docket are Into the Storms and You Weren't Meant to Be Human, because they both come out September 9th, and I already finished The Executioners 3, which comes out August 26th. So look for my video on that next week. So yeah, I'll be reading and reviewing these as they get closer to release, and I'll also do my best to give non-spoiler reviews because I realized that not everyone reads a book as soon as it comes out and wants a full spoiler summary review. I think those are best reserved for my fellow Sanderson fans who are chomping at the bit for our next dose of Cosmere. Please do all those delicious things that feed the almighty algorithm, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!